to the next level there, Dimitri.
I waited for.
All right.
I waited for. I made sure the recording was not started.
Yeah. Thank God for editing, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there is no editing on IoT Coffee Talk.
What? What? Wait, what? I thought Dr. Dre was doing some serious producing of this show. You know, hours of
Fix it
stuff.
in post. Fix it in post.
Like
There is no
bunch of
post.
AI. Do I look like Ryan Reynolds?
You look just like Ryan. Reynolds. Yeah.
No.
His glasses, by the
We
way.
don't have the budget.
Is that the same glasses he's got?
It is from Welcome to Wrexham. So that's about as
There you
close
go.
as I get to Ryan Reynolds.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, we haven't seen you in a while. What's up, Eric?
Just been doing the dance, trying to close a big deal in a foreign nation. So fingers crossed.
Wow. Good luck with that.
Just waiting.
Nation state.
A
Yes.
nation state.
A nation state.
Is it like is it one of the stands, Turkmenistan or Kazakhstan or?
No, but it's a far away place. It's in Africa.
Okay.
Waiting.
Right. Intriguing.
Fingers crossed, though. Hopefully I'll have stuff to
Intriguing.
talk about in a few weeks.
That's exciting, man. Good luck with that.
It is. Thank you. Thank you.
Wow. Good stuff.
It's a bit like being constipated. I'm just waiting.
Oof.
I had to bring that back.
Hmm.
Sorry.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh.
that went south. That went south.
Yeah.
I think Leonard's frozen.
Oh, it's
I
got
think
that
you
that
froze
Taiwan
Well, he
internet
did say-
connection.
He did say he was frozen, Rob.
Are we going to stop this conversation?
Yeah.
Or you want me
Let's
to add more to it?
Let's pivot.
Interestingly, I was at this World Economic Forum thing. We were invited to this event in Rwanda in October, so I might go to that. And so we have
Oh,
these
wow.
meetup groups all around the world that do TinyML things. And apparently we have 167 people in our meetup group in Kigali in Rwanda.
Wow.
Do TinyML things. So I was like, wow, even in faraway places, there's
Wow.
cool
That's
edge AI
exciting.
stuff happening. So
That
You know.
TinyML stuff is pretty awesome.
It is awesome. And for all you Americans who aren't aware of countries outside of the U.S., Rwanda, you may have heard of it from Hotel Rwanda with Don Cheadle. And there you go.
it is a country outside the U.S.
Yes. They were not in the World Series or at the Super Bowl.
Yes, true.
But I've not done any kind of research or serious research recently. But I mean, this is great news if this kind of technology is starting to be deployed especially in continent like Africa, because
Yes.
I think one of the challenge that Africa has had for many actually for forever is that they are used as a source of natural resources, but they're not doing a lot of transformation locally, which keep them not as developed as they should be. So
Yeah.
adopting those techs, they can probably produce more stuff locally.
Yeah, and actually, so we're actually speaking of that. I sat in on a presentation from this university in Ghana, and they were all doing TinyML projects as part of their graduate programs, and
Wow.
they were fascinating. In fact, I just got the YouTube video. I'm going to post it, but it was a lot around agriculture. So using TinyML for crop detection, soil detection, moisture. There's even identifying certain pests and doing like kind of scarecrow type stuff to scare away certain types of birds.
That's cool.
So doing all that kind of pattern identification, at the point of impact, it can be really important for just kind of, pretty profound improvements in a lot of quality of life. So without requiring a Blackwell data center and a Scarlett Johansson chatbot, is not required.
What if you want
investment going on in Africa right now for infrastructure? So I think that you can see a lot of movement over the next few years.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. All right, Leonard, are you here, man? Are you connected?
I don't know.
Happening.
I have no friggin' idea. I'm like in the lobby of the Grand Hyatt.
Yeah.
You would think that they can afford good Wi-Fi, but obviously not.
Yikes.
Wow. Because we were expecting a lot from you for this episode, like giving us the lowdown on Computex.
The
Computex?
PC reborn.
Yeah.
Yeah. All I gotta say, I just got off doing a podcast recording with Jim McGregor of Curious Research, and he and I both concur. This is like one of the craziest, weirdest vibes of an event, of an industry event that we've ever witnessed. There's some strange stuff going on. Yeah, obviously.
Do tell.
Yeah.
A lot of unconventional things, right? I mean, obviously with Microsoft build, what was it, last week or a couple of weeks ago? Yeah, geez, I'm losing track of time. Qualcomm announce X series, Snapdragon X series Copilot+, right, as being like sort of that initial and sole chip chip partner, provider for that qualified for Microsoft's standard for Copilot plus PC. And I think you kind of got a feeling that things might get a little awkward coming into Computex, and I think it was awkward. And obviously, one of the things that Qualcomm did very well is kind of establish itself as a benchmark coming into Computex, right? Because it doesn't matter what kind of smack you want to talk about X Elite and X Plus. I mean, it's probably going to come in pretty solid, especially with the CPU. Obviously, Qualcomm's been working on NPUs or neural processors for the longest time. That's kind of a net new thing for the other guys like AMD and Intel. I think the recognition is that Qualcomm is making a pretty compelling, if not leading, entry into the PC space, right? And Microsoft's role is becoming kind of curious. I mean, they're leaning in with Windows on ARM, and then it's like, okay, everyone else is AI PC until you come out with a processor where OEMs can basically deliver a machine that has at least 40 NPU tops, right? So, I mean, think about that. With the timing, everything's kind of skewed and, not synced up. Not only is it kind of confusing for everybody, because I think people are still struggling to figure out what is an AI PC. I heard of several, actually it was a question that was asked quite frequently during Q&As. And I think most people didn't do a very good job of answering that question. So
it's like
they might have thought that they did.
Yeah, I saw you have AMD and NVIDIA and Intel obviously want to be part of the story, right? So they're saying they're going to be Copilot ready, or it's AI PC Plus or ready, or I don't know.
Yeah, because what about my desktop PC that has a super killer NVIDIA graphics card in there?
Whatever. Isn't that AI PC, right?
Doesn't that make it AI? In fact, wouldn't my NVIDIA graphics card that is expensive better than the 40 tops NPU thing? Maybe. Yeah. I mean, is this a battle between Jensen and Pat? and then on Cristiano, and I mean, Lisa.
Are you trying to get us to the archaeology episode number 2, Rob? With your but I mean, for the sake of our listeners, Leonard. So, what is the best definition to you, based on what you've seen? How would you, if I ask you what is an AI PC, what would you answer yourself?
What I would say is. Oh my God, that was the longest ass pause ever, huh?
Wow.
I'm almost tempted to say that there is no such thing as AI PC,
or all PCs are AI PCs. I can do
exactly.
I use the ML.net on my laptop and train models and do an inferencing with just a plain old laptop. So any computer can do AI. It's just how fast can it do it?
Yeah, and I think maybe that's the kind of but maybe I think the risk of that, because I was personally absolutely stunned and frightened and horrified when I heard the Microsoft story, because their capability, their features to take screenshot of everything you do
Oh, the recall.
Recall.
As a hacker, it's heaven. It's
Oh yeah.
Apparently, someone's already published a tool to hack that.
Yeah, of course. Because in the past, you had to kind of go do social engineering by looking at different angle of a person. You have to go in his Facebook, look at his house, find his girlfriend. Now you just to hack the freaking thing, and you're good.
Yeah.
It's
screenshot every 5 seconds.
Yeah. I understand that thing.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, what these guys are trying to get at is this. The AI PC, I mean, almost specifically is for laptops, and it boils down to battery life, right? I mean, the reason why you have an NPU is you have low power AI compute. Why do you have that? Is because you want to be able to run certain types of applications. And believe it or not, most of the stuff that I've seen is not generative. Obviously, Copilot Plus is going to have generative like large language models and a variety of different models running in the background, but most of these things are like friggin' ML, like more conventional.
You mean what engineers call AI?
AI, yeah. Neural AI, but not AGI, which is where apparently we're going very quickly.
Yeah, no. So far from that. I mean, I think a lot of the valuable applications are actually these utility applications, whether it's security or monitoring, let's say performance monitoring, these things that you would want having, running
looking for
in the background,
for patterns,
without freaking destroying your battery life, And no, seriously, it boils down to that, because to your point, Rob, if you have a freaking GPU like RTX GeForce GPU and it's pumping out 700 tops and it's plugged into the wall, you're really not going to give a crap about an NPU.
I'm not really going to give a crap about the NPU.
I mean, why is the NPU so important on a smartphone? Because it's a friggin' mobile device. It's the most constrained device that's out there today. Why do you have it on a smartphone? Because you need that low power AI computing to do all the fancy little, gizmoid type of stuff on the device. So it boils down to battery life, and that's where Qualcomm's got game.
So maybe you just explained it to everyone. Maybe you did just answer the question. The AI PC with the NPU, the point of it is to offload those AI tasks that are usually CPU intensive, and they're going to reduce battery life and blah, 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 or not use as much battery.
Yeah.
Versus, but you're right. If I'm plugged in like a desktop PC or a server with a RTX, whatever, NVIDIA, I could care less. I've got way more tops, a zillion more tops.
Wouldn't you save more battery life on generative AI if you just ran it in the cloud?
Oh, you had to go there, didn't you?
Whoops.
Yeah, but in our episode of Silicon Valley, we're using everybody's computer as a big Skynet.
Pied Piper. It's Pied Piper all over again.
Exactly.
For a compression.
The inside-out algorithm or whatever it is.
The battery
Middle out.
Battery life messaging much more sounds like BlackBerry to me. That's what I was hearing was working. And it's devices are not. If you want to run those all day long, you have to use something efficient, and so it's the same problem, but for more sophisticated apps.
Also, going back to the ML thing, I know of a lot of companies that build sensors, to measure these things that have the ML in the sensor, and it's really designed. You don't even need to go back to the CPU or NPU on a lot of this stuff.
Right.
So you can be measuring visual things, power things, in the sensor itself. And
how would you do that? How could you do ML on a
called TinyML? TinyML. I don't
know. That sounds interesting. Wow. Wow, I've never heard of that.
Milliwatt, maybe a milliwatt here and there.
A milliwatt here and there.
Yeah.
Wow. So it's interesting.
For Edge AI, you don't need it.
There you go.
Edge AI.
There you go. So while Microsoft's marketing engine is revved up with the AI PC and talking a good game, are they also shooting themselves in the foot with this recall thing? Everyone's favorite keylogger screenshotter spyware that offloads all that work to an NPU so you don't notice the screenshots happening, to getting your bank account numbers, getting everything. Oh, and then I think I read a similar article maybe that you saw, guys, about hacking it, and someone discovered everything's just being stored to my second favorite
open text.
My second favorite embedded database, SQLite. It's all being stored in SQLite on Windows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Which
I thought that's called a retriever.
Yeah. So just search for the little SQLite database.
Oh my God.
No, I think it could end up after all this, that this recall thing turns out to be the top story, and that people go into Best Buy and say, I'm not buying this thing because it has that recall on it. Then
you're right.
That
I think you're right. This could kill.
But
yeah.
I heard Best Buy is training their retailers, though, their salespeople, so that should solve the problem. Because a Best Buy salesperson is usually the expert in the room. That's what
Geek Squad. The Geek Squad.
What was that, Eric?
They need to rename the Geek Squad to the AI Geek Squad, and then you're done.
There you go.
Eric, you need to get a better mic, dude. You're never going to get a word in the edge.
Guys, send me a check. I solve your problem.
No, it's okay.
You
don't want me cutting in as much as I do anyway.
No, we want you to cut in. You just got to get like a big friggin' mic like Dimitri.
My son has them all downstairs for his studio, so I'll just have to steal them.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, steal them.
There you go. Yeah. What were you going to say? You weren't going to say anything?
It must be working because we're talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Microsoft, we're talking about it, so the marketing folks at Microsoft are happy. So it's working.
Yeah, it's generating a lot of news for sure. All the news. I mean, of course, we're skewed because we're watching all the tech news, but it's definitely flooded the airwaves this week with PC Reborn. I mean, Qualcomm's done a great job making the most of the moment. The question is, does it translate for Microsoft? Going back to my days when I drove the Windows on Snapdragon program, the big question was, is this going to be just share shift, which means you ship just the same amount of PCs, but slightly different chips and different things, but there's no increase in Windows volume?
Could be.
Or is it actually going to increase the sales of PCs total?
I think it's a 1-2 punch. I think you're right with the share shift going from Intel to Snapdragon, which is why they're also doing the AI PC NPU to try to get a PC refresh going and get people excited about a new PC with that, except that they might be committing suicide with the recall thing.
Yeah.
Can I get a PC with Windows XP, please?
There you go. Or Copilot Junior. I think
Windows
Copilot
NT.
Junior.
NT.
Rob,
get NT, please. NT3.
NT was awesome.
You guys are horrible.
My favorite version of NT was NT351. It was.
I remember that.
You launched with NT31, weird numbering, but kind of aligned with Windows 3.1, and then you did. But it needed more horsepower, and then you came out with NT Daytona, which was NT3.5, which they made it a lot faster. NT3.5.1 was a real stability thing, and most stable version of NT ever. It was awesome. NT4 was destabilized by moving the graphics into ring 0 of the CPU, and so remember, Microsoft was not in charge of graphics drivers for third parties or testing at that time. So an NVIDIA or whoever could have an unstable graphics driver, and since it's running in ring 0, blue screen of death. And that's what happened with NT4. It was blue screen city.
Oh, really? Wow.
Doom. You needed to play Doom.
Yeah.
With 3.5.
So you really need Copilot Plus Service Pack 1 is really what
So you didn't recover.
Also to run Clippy.
Oh God, you had to go there.
I remember being. Go ahead.
No. Did anyone do the disclaimer?
Oh yeah, we should have done the disclaimer.
Yeah. Hey, everyone, take us seriously at your own risk, please. Your own risk, not ours. Your risk. And we're just here to have fun. So the risk is on you. We are offloading, just like we're trying to offload.
That's right.
Yeah, to the MPU. We are offloading risk onto you. So, okay. What do you guys want us to talk about?
That's another use case for the AI PC. So disclaimer. Oh, but Rob, you should be depressed if you're so fan of NT 3.51 because I think Microsoft just confirmed the end of life of NTLM last week.
LAN manager?
No, the authentication protocol. NTLM.
Right. That's where it came from.
It's done. You have to move away from it. I'm sorry.
NTLM is, but when I said LAN manager, that's the birth of that was IBM LAN manager, and so the same code base of OS2 and then NT all doing the same stuff together, right? Because they all came from the same. Is that a real human? No.
That's
it is scary how real this dude,
an
this
AI
manager,
security bot,
or whatever the hell it is. Yeah.
AI security bot.
It's almost like a Gen AI generated.
That's really interesting. They have kind of a mannequin there.
So Leonard,
it's pretty empty.
Yeah, some weird stuff. Yeah.
So Leonard, what was your take? What was your take when Pat got up? When Pat got on stage and said that Moore's law is alive and well?
Oh yeah, I think so.
After Jensen said Moore's law was dead.
Cage match.
It's not. It's dude. I mean, Jensen is a funny dude. It's like you can't conflate like transistor density and scaling with like a friggin' system. Like a whole supercomputer scaling and densification. There's two different things. So he's comparing those two curves. But yeah, it was one of the things that I actually Jim and I were talking about. And for those of you guys who don't know Jim McGregor, I mean, the dude is like, he's been around for a long time, one of the top analysts for semiconductors. And yeah, he and I both agreed. I mean, from a silicon perspective, even Blackwell is bound to Moore's law, right? It's not doing some, it's not going beyond physics and all these things that Jensen talks about. And so the way that they're scaling these systems is networking and interconnect, right? So NVLink and InfiniBand. And so now everyone's trying to match them with this, advantage that they have on, especially with the NVLink. And so think about it as like being able to virtualize a whole, a cluster of GPUs into one logical node, right? So it's like virtualization, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what the dude is talking about. So it's more like software and networking related than anything else. And then, obviously they're doing all the TinyML stuff, going to like, floating point, like we talked about this before, right? Floating point and that just makes it look like it's going parabolic. But in reality, what they should be doing is when they're showing their curve, it should be, floating points at, 16. And they don't do that. So it makes the curve look like it's going exponential. But that's not necessarily the case. But what Jensen does caveat his statement with is that they are scaling the ability to handle the new workload of AI workload, which is all this generative large language model training crap. So in that sense, he's correct.
Drive stock price, doesn't it?
Hey, you know what? The dude knows how to sell. You can't deny it. I mean, the guy, he knows how to tell a friggin' story. And, I was at the keynote and the whole time I'm going, oh my God, I am drunk on Kool-Aid. This is like really hard to not walk out of here like totally inebriated, and you saw him, man.
These
Dude,
speeches,
you know what's crazy?
These speeches from these CEOs are stock price drivers because did you look at the stock from various companies? Obviously, NVIDIA is through the roof. But when Pat got up there and gave his talk and said, we got AI too, we got an AI chip, Intel's stock went up yesterday. I mean, it's I don't want to say it's a game or anyway.
It's always been a game. Of course it's a game.
Yeah.
I mean, billion for XAI, right? I mean, It's an arms race right now.
You can't blame them for doing that. Is the people and just do the stupid things of buying? They just
yeah.
I mean, but that being said, there's some real stuff happening, right? I mean, there's real competition, real arguments to be made, and certain players are doing that better than others. Some are being sensational and kind of upping the game on sensationalism and borderline nonsense. But
you made a good point, Dimitri, about XAI, because you're right. Elon just came out and said, I'm buying a whole ton of NVIDIA for XAI. In fact, I can see a company being formed where we strategically have disparate companies make announcements once per week about how they're buying a ton of NVIDIA, whatever, or name your company, to pump the stock price. Seemingly unrelated. Just, I don't know, just randomly.
It's a good idea to create a network of company. We just buy them from each other. So just rotate the same stock and just add a little bit at every round. That could be a money machine.
Could be. We're marketing genius.
It would be crypto.
In the late 90s with fiber optic a bit. Sure did. So I've read so much about this. Again, I'm not a Luddite. I believe in progress. But I think the froth right now is pretty frothy. So I think there's going to be a bit of a flattening over the next couple of years.
Yeah, I mean,
if you could tell me when the flattening is about to begin, Eric, that would be great, so that I can sell all my NVIDIA stock right before that happens.
Yeah, I'm just proud that you have it. So good for you.
But
good for you. Qualcomm's a good bet too, but they're pretty frothy too.
Yeah, but I feel Qualcomm is going into new markets and genuinely expanding their business from what they were. Qualcomm was Android phones, and then it's cars, and now it's PCs more legitimately. And so I think Cristiano's doing a great job as at the helm of that ship.
Well, they've been trying to diversify for a long time. I mean, just to put reality check, there's about 250 million PCs shipped every year. So, if they get 10%, which would be a huge win, that's 25 million units. I mean, it pales in comparison to the phone market that they have, right? It's still going to be pretty small.
Yeah.
The car to cloud stuff they're doing is pretty fascinating. So
it is. Although that's a pretty long lead cycle, right? To get into manufacture cars being shipped. A successful car is a couple 100,000 units a year. So just have to kind of put it in scale, sort of like when people talk about robotics and the humanoid robots, that's not even a million unit business until 2040 or something.
So Pete, do you foresee in the future, when you buy a new car, there might be a little logo somewhere that's like powered by Snapdragon or something like that, maybe?
Well, I'm sure if I was Don McGuire, that's what I would want. I would definitely want the Snapdragon logo to come up when I started the engine. Pay extra for that, but
well, but I mean, why not? I mean, now that we know that cars built today have hundreds, 100, 200, whatever chips in them, why not? I'm sure Cristiano's like, they should all be Snapdragon.
Yeah.
You don't start the engine anymore.
Well, that's true. Yeah. You just sit in the seat and start and hit the accelerator.
Yeah.
Like
get in,
push the car and pop the clutch.
But you actually, but you do need the logos, because my wife has a Bolt, and you never know if that freaking thing is on or off. It's extremely.
That's true. Yeah.
You never.
I drove a Polestar recently, and I couldn't tell.
Yeah, you don't.
Is this on? Is this off? I would just shift it into drive and see what happens. Because I couldn't tell.
Is this like more recent iPhones, like when you turn it off and it tells you, well, you think you're turning it off, Dave, but actually it's still being tracked.
I'm still here.
Well, that's pretty much what you have with all new electric
cars. Mind is going. I can feel it.
I mean,
feel it.
The death of the off button. I think that's the blog post. The death.
I know, but at least you can't use a new iPhone for a burner phone. So sorry, people who do that.
Rob, what do you need burner phones for?
I mean, just pull the battery out, pull out that SIM card. That whole eSIM thing is going to screw up that.
But more seriously, more and more those new, and not only electric, actually, even the good old petrol start the engine car. do have now connectivity to the cloud somewhere, and you have no idea what they track. You have no idea. They probably track it. I mean, Tesla was the first one to do that, where you are, what the speed, is there a bump on the suspension? So they obviously all do that to sell you better car and better maintenance. But imagine the amount of data they gather about your behavior.
Sure. Well, I think there's some regulations on black box and things for like traffic accidents too. And there's some regulatory things going on state by state around, retrieving kind of crash data and stuff in a case of accidents. So I think that's all inevitably going to happen.
As soon as you go over the speed limit, very soon you get a fine. And after times,
and you know who this is going to happen to first? Oh, I can tell you, it's going to happen to Dimitri and Leonard because they live in California. Yeah. Yeah. Just like fuel tax, that's how most people pay for everything is taxes on gasoline. And now they're going to be tracking you based on mileage, and they're going to have GPS in your car, right?
Yeah.
They're already testing it, so it's not like this might be a shocker to some people, but they're doing it. They've been testing it in Washington for a while.
But they've been doing toll-based driving around the world for.
Well, but I mean, they have a valid problem, which is the fact that you still have to maintain roads, but with electric cars, you don't get the tax on fuel. Now, they're going to take the opportunity to increase the level of tax because who reduces the?
Well, they adjust the registration fees, right? So the registration fees in Washington are through the roof
They're through the roof up here. Yeah,
huge,
crazy.
Bill.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah,
so those are going to get you one way or the other.
It's expensive you're right, for electric cars. It's pretty expensive because the entry level car by Wi-Fi, the registration is awful.
Yes, your wife drives a Bolt.
Yeah.
I seem to remember back in the day, people living in the valley while they were waiting to get their Tesla that wasn't ready yet, but they wanted to be able to get into the HOV lane on the 101. And the only way to do that is to have an electric car. And so many of them would say, I will temporarily buy a Bolt. And then as soon as my Tesla is ready, I will get rid of my Bolt. I heard lots of people say stuff like that.
But there was a lot of people buying Priuses because the hybrid Priuses were doing this as well. So.
Oh, they would give you allow you for a Prius? Okay.
Yeah, for the hybrid cars as well, usually you get but as you said, Bright California fixed the problem. Now there's no more HOV lanes. You have fast track lanes where you can
pay for it.
So it's funny to you because how much it defeats the purpose. Because I think it's a good idea to put HOV lanes to incentivize people to carpool. And maybe to get better cars. But when you start saying, you know what, you can pay to bypass all that, say, okay, got it. We're back to capitalism.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Geez, when did carpooling just die off? Not just
Work from home.
Work from home,
Yeah.
Oh, and also when everybody was worried about COVID, they didn't want to be in a car with someone else.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Ugh, germs. Oh, ouch. Yeah, no bueno. So have you had any good meals or tell me what exciting stuff's going on in Taipei?
Some good stuff.
Starved for almost every single lunch. Just too busy. We went to a bunch of nice restaurants. Oddly, we ended up going to the 101, the tall ass
Taipei
building.
101.
Taipei 101 about 20 times. It was like ridiculous. So we know the cityscape quite well now. So they have these like massive buffets like that take up like an entire friggin' floor of that building. Awesome. Yeah, and you walk around and they have everything that you can imagine. Really, really good food. And then, of course, there's restaurants everywhere. I mean, I'm actually a pretty big fan of Taipei city. So anybody who's, contemplating coming out to Asia and wondering, hey, should I go and visit that tiny little island? It's like, big time. I mean, it's a really nice city. Shopping's great. It's just a little bit humid.
Yeah.
So
we're going to have our TinyML summit in Asia in Taipei in November. So people want to.
Yeah, cool.
Shout out.
State of the art and Edge AI in Taipei in November. I'll be there.
Well, it's kind of the place. And Yeah, it's crazy how entrepreneurial the folks here are, but then also like how deep into tech, electronics and technology. They're all. I mean, it's like it is our electronic supply chain, right? Yeah. Everything kind of comes here and gets assembled and shipped out around the world. So
you should go do a tour. Go do a tour of like TSMC manufacturing plant, or go see HTC's headquarters, all these places that we know about or read about, right?
Yeah. No, I want to come home. I've been here for like 2 weeks, man. I don't want to. I don't want to.
Chunk of time.
Yeah. Next time.
Yeah, I used to go to Taipei. We had when I worked for Phoenix for the BIOS folks. We had a big office in Taipei, and whenever I would go there, the folks in the office they would take me to TGIF. The TGIF
Fridays.
They were like, well, you're from America, so you're gonna like this food.
You're gonna eat,
I hated TGIF, but I think secretly they loved it and they wanted an excuse to go there, so they would.
That's exactly the point, and
that's what they wanted.
I used to travel a lot internationally as well, and what I usually do when I go to a country, say, no, don't try to get me to the hot new place that look like the country I come from. Get me to where you go on Friday night with your friends.
Right.
I want to go.
Exactly.
But I realized.
Red Lobster.
Yeah.
Red Lobster.
Red Lobster.
Yeah.
I think they're going out of business, by the way, Red Lobster.
Oh, they're being stripped for parts.
Chapter 11.
Yeah.
Who knew? Oh my gosh. I know. I think about all the places I should not have gone in China or Japan or whatever, like Kentucky Fried Chicken, Outback Steakhouse. I've been to Chili's in Kuala Lumpur. I've definitely been to TGI Fridays in Shinagawa. Yeah.
Wow.
Guilty.
No, it's no bueno. Actually, the one though, back in the early 90s, when I was in South Korea, we had to go all the way across Seoul to go to the only TGIF Fridays, and man, it was like going to a high-end restaurant at the time.
Wow,
that was like one of the few, non-McDonald's Western eating establishment. Yeah. I mean, back then it was hard to get good Western food. I mean, for the most part, you're just eating kimchi and friggin', Korean barbecue.
You just said the early 90s, Leonard. Weren't you a toddler in the early 90s, Leonard? At that time, I'm trying to remember. I mean, we're all pretty young on this show here.
Yeah.
The other, by the way, the other good TGIS is in Newark Airport. So folks are really big.
There you go.
I've been to that one.
Yeah.
You've been to that one? Yeah. Everyone's been to that one.
Yeah. So
that's so funny.
Yeah, they have good food here. I mean,
where's Waldo?
Clean city.
Yeah.
And lots of tech and
go buy an iMate phone.
A jazz jar.
I'm sure you can pretty much find anything here. It's like, what was crazy? So the first exhibition hall that I went into, man, it was like nothing but freaking fans, like these cooling units everywhere. I mean, can you imagine having like a whole exhibition hall, or at least half of a large exhibition hall, where there's nothing but freaking fans? It's
the equivalent of
so weird.
It's the equivalent of the phone cases at a phone conference. You have the AI chips and the fan.
The phone cases,
yeah.
It's the analogy.
And the fidget spinners back in the day.
Fidget spinners, yeah.
So maybe there is a business of customized fans for your AI data center.
I don't know.
Brands.
Yeah, but it was like stepping into like a Fry's Electronics. That whole build your own computer section of Fry's. It was like stepping in there. I mean, it's crazy. And then so many server chassis for H100s and H200s, and everyone's getting ready for the Blackwell. The Blackwell.
And the Rubin
NVL 72s. Geez, they really got to shorten that friggin' name for that system.
Yeah.
H200 NVL 72.
Second edition.
That's like too damn long.
Daytona.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah, R2D2.
But yeah,
that's too long.
You know, it's crazy. Everybody here is like, I mean, you walk around and you see Jensen's signature everywhere. Goes, hey, go for it. Let's go. Blah blah blah. And it's like Jensen Huang, and everyone's like embalming it or encasing it in like whatever to preserve it.
He's a rock star.
The duration of the conference. Oh yeah. No. It's like,
especially in Taiwan.
You got to be kidding me.
You know?
Yeah. Especially at Denny's. He can't pay for a meal at Denny's. I mean,
Denny's, man.
Here's that. Yeah. Here's that stack of pancakes for you, Jensen, on the house.
Apparently, there is a fruit lady at one of the night markets that he really fancies, and he was pumping that particular establishment up quite a bit during his keynote. So that was pretty funny.
Nice.
I don't know. Fruit you should, or at least you go and see if you can buy shares in her fruit stand.
There you go.
But it's weird because like when you go to a Intel or conference, any of these events, I mean there's that whole CHIPS Act thing and everyone's gung-ho USA. Here, man, it's like it's weird to see like Jensen and the guys at Supermicro and TSMC, etc. And they're pretty nationalistic about all this chip stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And obviously, they're very proud of the Taiwanese companies that are actually at the epicenter of a lot of this AI.
Well, and Acer
that's
and
happening.
And
Well, MediaTek and NVIDIA is not really a Taiwan. That's a freaking American company, but Jensen's Taiwanese American, so they treat him like a.
And they use, but they use TSMC to make their use.
Is MediaTek making any news there, by the way? Speaking of MediaTek, I mean, I know they.
They. Well, other than Jensen and Renee Haas getting up on stage and saying almost nothing, except that they cook for each other. I mean, I thought like some of the partnerships that they're doing on the server side of things. So, it looks like MediaTek is kind of doubling down on getting into basically generative AI HPC, right?
I think I've got MediaTek chip in this Motorola phone.
Yeah,
that's the one where
they're going to scale it out, man.
Yeah, they got a ton of market share in the phone space, kind of pushing Qualcomm a bit. So I'm curious to see how MediaTek's going to diversify beyond the phones too.
Yeah,
got pretty high horsepower silicon too. I mean, it's pretty.
And that's a good question. I'm curious about, Pete, is high-end silicon, because typically in the past, at least, the lower cost Android phones would use MediaTek and the high-end ones would use Qualcomm. Even though, and so is MediaTek getting some horsepower going?
They are. Some of the newer chips they have are quite powerful.
Okay.
And they were in Chromebooks for a long time too. I don't know if they still are in Chromebooks. So I'm sure that they would want to make a play for the Copilot+ Junior Professional Edition SKU.
Yeah. And
my small talk app is going to run like the wind on this.
Right.
Yeah.
I love small talk. You had to go there.
I had to go there. When you talk about performance, you say small talk.
Me and Grady Booch like this.
You and Grady, buddy. Oh, hey, Marc, what's going on, man?
Oh, Marc's on?
Hey, everything is going well here.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I'm really confused that Embedded World North America and Mobile World Congress Las Vegas are the same dates exactly. So is there an explanation? Is the target audience completely different?
That's weird.
Some people don't do research to see whose events are at the same time.
I think Embedded World's in Austin, right? And MWC is in Vegas, right?
Yeah. Let me give you an example from this week. You may not know it, but SAP Sapphire is happening this week in Orlando, like they do every year, but you would never know it because Computex is just dominating the media and the attention, which it hasn't always dominated in the past.
No.
But people are so amped up about silicon right now. Yep. And SAP I don't even know if anybody's saying anything about it. The only reason I know anything is I've got some friends who are at it, and they're just like, it's kind of same old, same old.
Yeah.
Well, embedded
world, you have to choose, right? Decisions.
Yeah. Well, embedded world is interesting because it was started by the Nuremberg Convention Bureau. They actually own Embedded World, so they created a show for their convention center called Embedded World. And so now they spun that out, and now they're going to do one in Austin. Actually, TinyML will be there, by the way. But they spun it out to do its own kind of company called for Embedded World, and they're doing one in Austin next year. But yeah, it's the same time as MWC and Vegas, so you'll need to choose wisely.
Ooh,
yeah,
Austin or Vegas? I'm going to Austin.
I think I'm going to have to spin up another organization to compete against Pete. I'm going to call it Medium ML.
Medium ML.
Yeah.
Kind of like lukewarm water, not hot, not cold.
Yeah.
Not icy.
I will do giant ML.
So you will do giant ML.
Giant ML.
You are the face of giant ML.
Or you could go ultra tiny,
Yeah, ultra tiny, microscopic ML.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not sure minuscule ML is good for marketing.
By the way, speaking of events, Rob and I had a premiere of our episode 2 yesterday. So a little pitch for
episode 2
Windows Phone WTF. We had episode 2 live streamed on LinkedIn. So that's exciting.
Oh, really?
Episode 3 is coming in a couple of weeks. So
yeah, it was a good episode.
It was a good one.
It was fun. Yeah, it was very meaty. You got a lot of behind the scenes and what was really going on at that time frame, because you had a lot of people on there.
It was a roundtable developer discussion. So,
and what's great is also doing on LinkedIn is you got all the comments, people coming in there, and so interacting with the folks who are watching.
Real time comments, reminiscing, and we had some cool.
So NDAs are not in place anymore, so you can talk openly about everything, or NDAs are still. I need to check.
Caveat tour on that one.
Yeah. Hopefully, we're not saying anything that's going to get us into trouble. No. I don't think so.
Guys,
about the O-phone and stuff,
NDAs make sense about things that have been successful.
Look at that quote! Yeah. Boom!
There you go.
Wow.
Sorry,
I
know I made it.
Look at that knife, Microsoft.
Usually like 10 years. Also, there's usually a 10-year lifetime.
Yes. Hopefully, we're past the limitations there. Statute of limitations. Oh my gosh.
So when the project started 10 years ago, 2014, before, right? It was
Windows Phone. I mean, Windows Mobile started in early 2000s.
Yeah, early 2000s.
Oh my
20
God.
years ago.
So we kind of started with CE, which came right after Windows 95, back in 96, I guess. Yeah.
96, 97,
You had those. Well, I know you've got some, Pete.
Cassiopeia.
Cassiopeia. Yeah, exactly. They look like a mini laptop, and the UI even looked like a miniature version of Windows 95. Except it just didn't. It was 32-bit. Didn't use as much CPU.
This is what I use on a daily basis now. I still use.
Oh my God.
That's a small one. I have an HP one somewhere.
The MCA slot, of course.
That's more what I have an HP one.
So, Pete, I've mentioned to you before some kind of battle that happened in the 90s that involved Microsoft and involved IBM with OS2. Here is the book. This is like the first startup book I've ever read in my life. And it came out in the early 90s, and it's called Startup. And it was about the Go Corporation. And these guys, and this is the first time you're introduced to people like John Doerr and all the people in the Valley and all the VCs. And it's such a great story. I love how it starts when the guy literally, remember when you used to carry a leather portfolio folder, like if you're going on an interview or you had this.
Yeah. The folder.
And so the guy walks in, to Kleiner Perkins and just drops his portfolio on the middle of the desk on the conference room and said, "This is the future of computing. This is a tablet computer." That's all he had. And they gave him a few million or whatever, and they started the Go Corporation, and they built this object-oriented operating system. It was pen-enabled. It had handwriting recognition.
10 OS.
This is all in the early 90s, but then they also talk about how they were getting screwed over by IBM and Microsoft. They're like, we have an NDA.
It's a rough book to read. I read it right when I left IBM and did my first startup, and it was great because it was inspiring, but it also was not a good ending.
No, it's not a good ending.
Company.
Well, disrupting the status quo when there's a lot of money at stake is a difficult business.
And
it's inspiring.
The people at Microsoft and IBM with smiling faces as they reached around with the knife into the backs of these poor guys who are true innovators. And you're right. And so there was an OS2 version of what they had. There was a Windows pen, whatever thingy at the time.
Yes.
And I remember distinctly, in fact, my wife was she went to Stanford with one of the guys who's in the book from Microsoft. And there's like, no, there's a Chinese wall between what you're doing and Microsoft. We would never take that technology. Yeah.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
It's
so how many technologies have been killed by big corporations?
Well, technologies get stolen probably more. And then acquisitions happen to kill competitors. We know about that. And there's also that notion of big companies like IBM and Microsoft. We've got lawyers that we can keep you tied up in the courts for years, and your little tiny company will go bankrupt trying to defend your patents or your whatever, your intellectual property.
Big companies they're not nice.
They're not
nice to work, and that's part of the thrill of disruption. But you got to avoid being squashed, and that's tricky sometimes.
You're living that life, Eric.
Yeah.
Well, I'm still standing, but I've got some.
Oh, there you go.
Got some wounds. Got some scars to show.
Do you guys know what this is?
Tell me which one that is.
QET.
No, this is an Atari. It runs MS-DOS.
Oh,
Atari Portfolio. Is that what it's called?
Yeah,
of course.
Nice.
Wow. What year did that come out? Do you know?
90 something. I mean, 92. Something.
Yeah, it's designed by a British company called DIP, by the way.
Can you play Adventure on it?
No. Wow.
You probably actually. I never found.
One of these.
I think you play Zork on there.
I'm building a PDP-11 replica with the objective of adventure on it. So.
And to all our fans out there, do you know who else tried to build a replica of the PDP-11 and changed the world?
Jensen Huang.
It wasn't Jensen. It wasn't Paul Allen. It was a Steve, and it wasn't Steve Jobs. It was Steve Wozniak. Because he's such a nerd, and he was trying to recreate what a PDP-11 would do on a piece of plywood. He accidentally created the Apple One. Oops. Well, you go, well, I can do what that's doing just this small. It was like, this whole micronization, study and figuring out that I don't need a refrigerator size computer. I can actually do it here on this piece of plywood.
Small is the new big. Small is the new big.
Well, long live the nerds. Love Woz.
Yeah, Woz is great. Long live the nerds. And this tiny stuff is really hot.
Yeah.
Tiny stuff.
Tiny's so hot right now.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Literally, the thermals can go and get insane, right?
Yeah. Insane in the membrane.
Yeah. It's gonna be a crazy year.
Yes, it will be interesting. Well, Leonard, you seem to be in the eye of the storm over there, so enjoy.
No, you really
still running.
You really get
Can
that.
you believe it?
Is it running?
Still running.
Oh my god!
Awesome.
Wow. So everyone else knows who was an employee of Atari at one time. That would be the other Steve Jobs.
Yep.
And he created Breakout.
Yes, he did.
Kind of like Pong. And he's probably rolling over in the grave right now. He's looking down on Dimitri and he's like, are you telling me there's freaking DOS running on an Atari computer? Are you insane? I would never let that happen. Those heathens from Redmond that have no taste.
Actually, the Atari Portfolio made a cameo in the Terminator movie, if you remember. The young guy who's supposed to be saved, he used it to hack into a bank machine. Remember that? He used his Atari Portfolio.
Let's just get wired in.
Exactly.
little ribbon cable.
I do run a DOS box on my Mac M1, so this is not good either.
Okay. You know what? I will admit I run DOS box as well because I still love all the video games from DOS.
Hold on.
Yeah.
You know, like Wolf 3D, you know, you want to play Wolfenstein or all those cool games, all these submarine simulators that I used to play while I was on the submarine, which is weird. It's like a dream within a dream, an inception. Yeah. And so, but they're all for DOS. And Eric would love this. Eric would love this because who made the best DOS in the world? Oh, it was OS2. That in each DOS box in OS2, OS2 could run up to 256 DOS virtual machines simultaneously, and you had like 30 to 50 independent configurations you could do to individual DOS boxes.
Better DOS than DOS, right?
Yeah, and so you can, and so they had all the cheat sheets for the DOS video games to tune it to make sure it worked great on OS2.
I just bought one of those handheld video game machines, RG.
Yes.
So I just bought one and I've been tinkering with it all week. It's a blast because you play every game from way back when. Yeah.
Is that the ROG or
RGHXXH? I forget the RG35XX. Someone out there will know, but it's been fascinating because it's a retro thing. You can go play Game Boy Golf, right? Just old school. You can play Zork, right?
Zork.
Yep.
Do you think one day that we should, like, while we're filming, we should all be playing Zork or Adventure? You know,
you should see my screensaver. It's Ultima 4 by Richard Garriott.
Oh, no way.
So Richard lives in Austin now, and I've got to meet him a few times. Pretty fascinating guy. So
well, you know that's
my favorite.
There's a missing feature in Zoom because we cannot share multiple screens, because otherwise we could share all our screen and be playing at the same time. That would be
maybe we should build a competing startup to Zoom where you could do that, where each person can share their screen.
Tiny Zoom.
There you
go. Tiny Zoom.
If we had some kind of ML technology that could fit in tiny little boxes.
But this is called Discord, right?
Well, it's not, kind of, because it's really the voice channel on Discord when you play, and it's in interface with the game. But imagine if you put recall on that, then you actually have multiple people screens. That
back to recall again.
Exactly. Run that into a Microsoft
and it'd have to run
PC.
It would have to run in DOS. We would build it really tight and run in DOS box.
Absolutely. I think that's the way to go.
Zoom.
Should we be streaming this on Twitch, Discord, places like that?
Probably.
Maybe
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I was thinking too.
Or at least put it on a BBS somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, much to Leonard's chagrin, we did try going live on Clubhouse when it had its, several weeks of fame. It
was more than that. It was COVID.
It was a pain. It was a pain in the ass, man. That was just,
I hear you.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, I think we're running out of things to say, aren't we?
Yeah, there you go.
No, we're not. I'm fading. Yeah.
You're fading. All right, take us out, Leonard.
Take us out.
Why? Okay. All right. So, hey, everyone. Thanks for watching up to this point, which is an incredible feat. We congratulate you. Your endurance is amazing of listening to our rants, and hopefully you found it informative, educational, and insightful, because that's what we try to do. We try to be educational, insightful, and we do this all for the love of the children. And so remember, we have a charity called Elevate Our Kids at www.elevateourkids.org. And please consider donating. We're always looking for very large donations from very charitable people who would like to bridge the digital equity divide for kids in underserved and unserved communities. And so, this is all about love and doing the right thing. And so hopefully you'll join us in doing that. And of course, subscribe to IoT Coffee Talk at www.iotcoffeetalk.com. And what is that? Tiny heart? That's ridiculous. Okay. Anyway, like, subscribe, do all that like social stuff, and help promote and spread the love. See, there's love right there. And let's do good stuff with all this IoT stuff.
Do it.
Kind of something that doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. Anyway,
somebody mentioned IoT at the very end. There you go.
Yes.
There you go. IoT.
Yeah. Right. Obligatory IoT mention. And so, yes, thanks a lot. And we will see you next week. Signing off from Taipei City here in Taiwan.
Travel safe, Leonard.
We'll see you next week. All right. Take care, guys.
Adios.